yeah, to get started, Tara and I, we found ourselves, and then we were working on finding ourselves, and then we found each other. Um, it's been a rough journey for myself from the start, as a lot of people who have had conversations with me before, and how my personality was and my reputation was with W.T. Berry, and how I handled and carried myself when I was first going through this weight loss journey. We all know how that was, but we'll get into that as the episodes go on, and how all that unfolded and what we went through personally. But yeah, it wasn't just about weight loss and not just love. It was about our transformation and learning how to connect and communicate. So we decided that we wanted to put a podcast together so that we could share with many of you who find themselves having issues in your own relationships, and try to find ways and work through and get over and get through and prevent bariatric divorce. How do we keep that from happening? And how do we strengthen our relationships rather than pulling away from each other? So yeah, we're going to get into that and into the guts of that. Not necessarily tonight. Tonight is a way, for Tara and myself to kind of introduce who we are. What our life was like when we first started this weight loss journey, and up until how we found each other, and how we, the things that we went through in the short time that we've been together, and how we got through that. So, with that being said, I think it would be best to jump into what it was like before weight loss. So I'll let Tara let us know and tell us about herself and what her life felt like before weight loss.
My life before weight loss. So I have always been, my entire life, all the way back to where the youngest I remember is like 8 years old. And I was close to 140 pounds, probably in the 140. So I've always been obese my entire life. There was a period of time between the ages of 16 to 20 that I was not, and it's because I was battling eating disorders, anorexic and bulimic, and I lost a ton of weight. And let me start by saying I am one of 8 children, so my mom never even noticed that I had, was melting away. She didn't notice the behaviors I was having because she was so preoccupied with all the other kids. And I only have one sibling younger. So it actually took one of my siblings coming in to recognize something's going on with her, like she's like wilting away, for her to notice. And by that time, I'd already been in those bad habits for a couple of years. So I went through some therapy then, and got some help. I ballooned back up really quickly after I got past that. I had my first child, and I was successful at losing weight after that and getting back down to where I needed to be. I got pregnant with my second child, and I ballooned up like a whale, and it was all uphill from there, very slowly or fast. Either way, I couldn't move very fast. And that's the only time in my life I've ever seen anything other than morbid obesity, and it was because I was battling eating disorders. My life was, wow, prior to weight loss surgery, it was very unhealthy, very toxic, I didn't even like the person that I had become. Just didn't. You guys, I have family. My daughter-in-law is in the chat. My daughter may be in the chat. So I was not happy with the person that I was. And my endocrinologist had been talking to me for, several visits about the possibility of weight loss surgery, and I kept telling her when I got to a specific number that I would consider it, and then I went in and I was past that number. My highest weight was 289 pounds. And so she made the referral, and that's how the process started. It took me about 19 months to get approved to have surgery because of my history with food. My entire life, I mean, I learned to walk to Oreo cookies. I had a very terrible relationship with food. I had, therefore my insurance required me to have 14 months of counseling prior to the procedure, along with all the other testing you have to have done.
I still can't get over that you had 14 months of seeing a psychiatrist
Yes.
before your procedure. Because I remember for me, it was more like, 2 visits. I did 2 visits and it was, over a web call. They just kind of asked me, could I put up with the changes of food and the new diet? Would I be able to stick to an eating program, so on and so forth? They never got really deep with me. They got deep with you in those visits?
Because the very first visit, they ask about disordered eating.
Mm-hmm.
And at what age I was when I realized I was morbidly obese. And I'm not even happy to say I was between 10 and 12. I was put on my first diet, a slim fast diet by my parents. And that's when I recognized I'm the biggest one in my family.
Mm-hmm.
And so we really dove deep into that, and with good conscience, right? Because of everything I had shared. The first visit, she had to, I had to be approved or not approved for my insurance to pay for it. And that's what their requirement was.
Mm.
So I kept going.
Right. Wow. And you made what was it? You went through the psychiatrist, talking to a psychiatrist. You decided weight loss surgery is the way you wanted to go. Like what led you to making that decision that that's what you wanted to do, was have weight loss surgery?
It was recommended by my endocrinologist, A, and B, I was miserable. I was miserable. I had 2 grandkids, and there was no run around playing with them, interacting with them. Like we sat on the couch, they sat beside me, and we played that way, or on my lap. That was the most interaction they got.
And ate Oreo cookies.
Yes. And Reese cups.
Reese cups.
And which they love now. So
yeah.
Look what I did. Transfer that trauma right there.
That's all right. We'll get into that another day for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, I did the same thing. As far as my life before I decided, my life before weight loss surgery was very out of control. Like I ate as much as I wanted to eat when I could eat, whenever I could eat. To keep me awake, I was driving a tractor trailer, so I was eating just to stay awake behind the wheel. I would always go on these fad diets, losing, trying to work out maybe for a straight 3 months, lose weight, and have a Big Mac for, breakfast, lunch, and dinner if I could. I was out of control, and it got to the point, in a nutshell, just to make a long story short, abuse of substance abuse and all that came into play, and then I started getting the comorbidities with my blood pressure started to get really high and stay that way. I was then diagnosed with diabetes, and I had severe sleep apnea. It was horrible. I had a sleep machine for almost 15 years. Before my surgery, I decided, I was just diagnosed with diabetes, and they told me that, since I'm having the surgery, don't worry about it, but they would have put me on medication. I felt like I was running to the hospital at least once a week. because of all the pains that I was feeling in my chest. Hypochondriac was through the roof. It was just completely out of control. And yeah, I decided to have the surgery. And I figured, because it took, the program that I was in was through Dartmouth and in New Hampshire. And it took about 6 to 8 months from start to finish. And I figured if I couldn't lose the weight before it was time to have the surgery, then I would just go ahead and have the surgery. And it's probably I had the RNY, by the way. It was probably the best decision that I've ever made in my life. And I say that loosely. I say it because, I say it loosely because, yeah, I did get healthy. I did kick the comorbidities. I don't have high blood pressure anymore. I don't have diabetes. And I believe, quote unquote, that I don't need the sleep apnea machine anymore. I don't think I need CPAP anymore, but that hasn't been discussed with my doctor, and I wouldn't recommend doing that on your own. I would recommend going to get retested. I just haven't crossed that bridge yet, but sometimes I'm told I snore at night and sometimes I don't. So, I mean, my blood pressure right now, last we saw was, 117/75. But it's been as high as, you blink your eye and it'll be up 105/102. All because, and we'll get into this again another time, but, getting back to, eating the wrong things and not staying consistent with the diet. All of us go through it. It comes back live and direct. But obesity is a real thing, and it does not go away. I made that decision because I felt like the decision to have surgery, I felt like I had nothing else to lose, and that if I did not get the surgery, that I was more than likely going to just die. And to be quite honest with you, I feel like that could have possibly happened if I didn't make the decision to have the surgery. One thing that sticks out a lot, we got about 5 more minutes on this topic before we move on, the discussion about surgery. But one thing that stood out, and a lot of us that deal with it, is the mental, what we do, what we go through mentally after having surgery. Speaking for myself, I didn't just change physically, and that was cool. I just didn't know how to deal with it. I didn't know what it was like to be, accepted. I didn't know how to react. And my first reaction was like a school child, like a teenager again, because I feel like that was the last time I was smaller, was in high school, and I, as a 50-year-old man, losing the weight that I lost, I haven't weighed this much since high school, I went right back to it, and I act like a complete idiot. Some people may feel like I'm being too harsh on myself, this, that, and the other, but it's true. I was being childish. I was in a honeymoon phase of losing the weight, and I was really feeling myself probably a little bit too much. And then when it all came crashing down, I realized that those demons that I didn't face didn't go away. They were still there for me to face, and I just did not know how to face them. So, with that experience that I've had, and I still have it today, but practice what you preach. I think in most instances it would be a smart idea for people who have gone through a weight loss. It doesn't have to be surgery. It could be GLP-1, weight loss on your own, or with the surgery. You probably should look into some counseling. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, that most definitely. But I'd already decided that I was having BSG prior to going through my therapy with my psychiatrist. because I felt like I had some health issues, not having a pituitary, being steroid dependent, and hypothyroid was keeping weight on me, and I felt like I was gaining it so rapidly that I didn't have any other choice but to go through with this. And so even prior to my therapy, I was like, yeah, I'm going. Head in, like, we're having this surgery. And the reason I had gastric sleeve, as you know, and some people know, is because I don't have a pituitary and I'm steroid dependent, and RNY was never an option for me. My surgeon wouldn't do it, and my endocrinologist would not recommend it. So, but I definitely think that it should be more than 1 or 2 sessions. I think that we are obese for a reason, and I think that because it really, whether it be weight loss surgery, as he said, GLP-1, if you lose it naturally, after you have plastics, like the mental health aspect is, I don't even know if I can say it, but it's a major mindfuck for real. So, like, I think the importance of having therapy, whether it be at the beginning of your journey, middle of your journey, I definitely don't think you should wait until after you're done with everything. I think you should to do it from the beginning, to deal with your issues with food. Food, it's a relationship, okay? We can call it what we want, but that's probably, for me, speaking for me, that was my first unhealthy relationship before I could even walk, was with food. So I think it's very important.
So, I mean, in a nutshell, I think that, you know, I mean, as we have these conversations and we learn, it's not just, you know, about how we learn to communicate, love each other, respect each other, and build on the relationship that we are building on. It also allows us to share, you know, the experience that we're having during this weight loss journey that is just never going to end. So that's a little bit on us and how we got started in this weight loss journey, how we got to where we are. But that's just the tip of the iceberg. I think, you know, it would be great to share, you know, how you kind of hooked up with me, girl, and you like felt like it was time to, you know, me and you had, you know, little words together behind closed doors. You know what I'm saying?
You are a nut.
So let's talk about how we met, Tara. How did we meet? I mean, tell everybody how, you know, the player played out. No, I'm just
yes,
joking.
no, he is not joking. Everyone who knows Rab knows that he was in a lot of DMs. That's just the truth. I'm sure my inbox wasn't the only one he was hitting up. The difference in me is, I was not looking for anything. I was getting out of a very, very long, toxic marriage. And I wasn't part of the bariatric community. I was on TikTok, have been since before COVID, because I collected toys and I opened toys on TikTok. It's just the truth. I did it with my grandkids. I did it by myself. Like, I just enjoyed. That's why I was on TikTok. So one day I happened upon a Bari-N-Love experience live. And I listened to these grown men talk about their bariatric journeys. And I'm a people watcher. And I watched and I listened. And so then I sent a message and said, when do you guys go live? Because there was a lot of women in their live. And I hadn't, up to that point, I had watched like KT, Sam, Val, Kim, like I had watched people talked, you know, in a chat just a little, but like I wasn't involved in the bariatric community. And then not very long after that, Mr. Roberts here was sending me messages.
I was?
Yes. Would you like me to open?
No. we don't need to open it. But it is safe to say, and I'm not looking for brownie points or nothing. I'm just trying to put things into perspective. But it is safe to say that you noticed me first. Because you said you came into BME and you noticed me. What is that how that works?
Yes. Do you want me to tell them what I noticed about you?
I mean, if you want to. What'd you notice about me, girl?
The first thing I noticed about Rab is he enjoys talking to women.
What?
Yes. The second thing I noticed about Rab was on his face. And we're going to leave it there.
Man, hold on a second. Now, hold on a second. You say that I enjoy talking to women.
Yes.
The bariatric community is made up of 80% women.
Yes.
So who else am I going to talk to when men don't communicate much?
Well, the woman you had at home would have been a good start.
What woman?
The woman you had at home.
You weren't at home?
No. Mm-mm.
Oh.
Damn. I mean, I wasn't my home, but...
I'm don't cut any corners for me. Like, I'm all about humility. So if you say what you say. Like, that's what this is about, right? So, I mean, you're right. But you're wrong. Because my heart wasn't there.
I know, you tell me that.
Yeah.
You tell me that.
Right.
And that is going to be a later episode as well. So you guys just stay tuned. We got some spicy stuff coming.
So first impressions versus reality.
First impressions. You go first, babe.
Well, I didn't think much of it. Like, when me and you first started talking, I was like, okay, yeah, she's a pretty girl, but she's probably crazy because what would she want anything to do with me? You know, because that's the first thing I'm thinking. But then it was your blue eyes. Like, your blue eyes they just killed me. Like, I couldn't, stop, staring at you when we would have these conversations. And then we had long conversations, and I did realize that you were just as crazy as I was. So that was cool. It made a lot of things easy. And then, when you first, like, when we say first impressions versus reality, I mean, we're going off of, we hooked up on a daggone social media site, so it's like, what is she going to be like in person? That was...
Whoa. We did not hook up on a social media site. We met. Okay.
On a social
because
media
in today's world, hookup means you hook up. And we did not hook up on a social media site.
Okay. So some things mean things different from men to women, but yeah, okay, whatever you say, babe, you're right. From meeting someone on social media and versus reality, when I first met you, I was definitely attracted to you. I was a little annoyed, and we know why. It had nothing to do with you, but it was expected, because although it was new for us and okay, it doesn't mean that it was new that it was okay with other people that were involved, and it was okay with them, because you just can't expect that.
Not only was it expected, but I just have to toot your horn when I can toot your horn. It was respected.
Oh yeah.
He expected it, but he also respected it, which was huge to me. My first impression, I already told you when I watched BME what my first impression of Rab was, as far as how he carried himself. I didn't tell you what I noticed first about him, but it was on his face. I'm just going to be real. I mean, it was his lips. Like, I just didn't watch him talk. Like, it was freaking weird. But anyway,
Crazy.
first time I met him in person, I was okay with saying, okay, maybe I was wrong, because he was so respectful, in every he was just very, very respectful, and I was like, okay, maybe I was wrong about him.
You were wrong.
I was wrong.
But you were right, though, in some aspects, though, too, for sure. But, again, back to the reality, it's like, man, it was tough because you were going through what you were going through personally at home. And I was going through stuff, too, like, man, we don't want to get into that because it'll take, this is a whole another episode. We can have a conversation. See, this stuff is going to be good. These are going to be great conversations. But you were going through what you were going through at home, and so was I. And we were also 5-6 hours away from each other as well. And we met up a couple of times, and we hung out,
One time being retreat.
Yeah.
Well, we didn't. We just went to retreat.
Yeah, retreat was crazy. That was wild, wasn't it? Damn, we were lunching. All right, retreat was out of control, and but we did hook up for Christmas. We took a walk in Charlottesville at that. That was like kind of like our first.
It was after Christmas.
Yeah, was that like our first date? Was it before or after Christmas?
It was after.
It was after. That was a good time. So we hung out a couple of times, with each other, and yeah, we just made a connection, man. And it was wild because, when you first get in a relationship in the past, with relationships that I've been in, you kind of, not necessarily start off slow, but you don't go through you don't express traumas because you don't want to push the person away. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I think that's what we did, is that we were together for such a short period of time, but we were expressing our traumas, and we had made a decision that, we're gonna stick through this and try to work through these traumas together for some strange reason,
Not because we tried to push each other away.
Yeah, we tried. I was like, nah, you can't deal with this, and you were like, nah, there's no way that you're gonna deal with this, but we made it work somehow, some way. I didn't, and sitting here having this this is the thing about learning each other. Sitting here having this conversation with you, we never had the conversation about what that felt like, But again, that's another episode. But I never really had a chance to tell you how weird that is, how odd that. We just said, we don't care about what our traumas are. We're going to work through this. And we hardly even knew each other. That's how bad we wanted each other. Or that's how bad whatever was putting us together was helping us find our way. And that's good. I'm good. I'm happy to have you right now. So I'm glad we followed through.
Well, me too. It's a good thing.
I got a question for you, Tara.
Is it a hard one?
It shouldn't be.
Okay.
What was it that made you fall for me? And we can't have no long pause. People sitting there, they waiting to hear what you got to say. Don't be thinking about it. It's supposed to just roll off the tongue. What made you fall for me? And you start crying, you ain't got no tissue paper down here. and some, a lot of, well, not a lot, but, there are a few people here that know, because they heard it. A lot of, well, not a lot, but, there are a few people here that know, because they heard it. Yeah. The listeners don't know why you fell for me. I guess.
So, I already said that I was one of 8 children. Most of my life, even most of my life, I felt invisible.
Yeah.
And Rab was the first person that I ever felt like he seen me.
Is that why you fell for me? Wow. Well, because that was easy for me to see. You definitely weren't hard to see. And that's funny, and because that's why I fell for you, because I saw you, and your ass wouldn't go away, which was wild. You know, like we had talked earlier about, you know, how I tried, you know, to push you away, and it brings up the next, you know.
But what he doesn't talk about is how I tried to push him away.
You ain't try.
This is it. Let's talk about it. Come on, Rab.
Well, yeah. I mean, that's the next part of this conversation is, you know, the challenges that we faced early on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when we were at retreat, the bariatric retreat in 2024, I left there thinking I want nothing to do with this crazy fool.
Mm.
And me and Rab didn't talk like on the phone or over text, even though we shared a number, right? Like we would FaceTime or talk over TikTok, social media, not on the phone or over text. So I didn't even have his number saved in my phone, but I didn't have a name on it. So I didn't think to delete it because it's not how we communicated. But when I came back from California, he already knows, so I'll just tell you guys I was really hurt because I ended up in the hospital there. And after retreat, and all these people that I met at retreat were supposed to be, I wouldn't even say friends, because at that point I just met them. I didn't know them. People I met, nobody was there for me. And I was all the way across the United States by myself. And Rab he knows, he called me to check on me. But Bariatric Chris was the one that stayed in contact with me the whole time. How you doing? What's going on? How are you? How you feeling? Until I got home. And not Rab or anyone else. So when I left, I said, that's it. Block, 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 block. And it went up 2 or 3 weeks. It was mid-December. Maybe, yeah. Mid-December, a few days before, not many days before Christmas, where he texted and said, you weren't going to reach out to me, were you? And I'm like, who is this?
Yeah. That's funny too, because one of the challenges for me is that one of the biggest challenges for me was I felt undeserving. So I felt like I needed to push you away. Like I didn't want to have anything to do with the relationship because of where I was in my life. I talked a lot of game, I talked a lot of shit, like I wanted to be in a relationship, but when it came down to it, I was like, there's no damn way. What woman would want anything to do with me, if I don't have my own life together, and most importantly, if I didn't have any love for myself, so I was like, what could she find in me if I can't find it in myself? You helped make it apparent to me that I was deserving, that I did deserve more in my life, and that I wasn't the toxic person that I really thought I was, because I was living by that sword that, you know, I'm so toxic that there is no way that I could have, you know, the love of my life in my life at this point of my life. So that was one of the biggest challenges for me. The next thing that I think we should touch on is, you know, miscommunication. How do you feel about that with miscommunication? We still miscommunicate.
Yeah, we can't we are learning to. It's getting better, but we could not communicate over text because one or the other of us were misunderstanding what the other one was saying, always.
And that was all about, that was part of like us learning each other. Like my lingo and how I talk and carry myself is completely out of the metropolitan DC, Maryland, Virginia area, and yours is from the backwoods of the holler in West Virginia. So besides what you saw on TV, as far as you were concerned, it was all an act. You know, that's how I feel, you know. But yeah, the miscommunication was huge for me, and learning how to make the necessary adjustments to what we believed in and what we felt was right and what was wrong, and how you felt about certain things, like things that you felt or feel about certain things. I would look at you and be like, oh, you're out of your damn mind, you're crazy, what is wrong with you, why would you feel that way, and not really like giving my whole full understanding of why you see things the way that you see things, and finding a way to respect that, you know. So I think it's important to build on that in a relationship. And we also need to take into consideration all these changes that are going on in our lives, you know, with our kids, our jobs, our finances, what we're used to and what we're not used to, and making those adjustments as well. It's really hard, and along the way and in the journey, you don't think about it in the moment until we have these conversations and we talk about it.
Right.
What do you think?
I think you're right. I think that I was always used to, you know, no communication, and then I have this man that I had fallen head over heels in love with, who tells me he can't communicate, but I know better because I've seen differently. And
I'll still fight you to the end, and I don't mean to cut you off, babe, but I mean, I'll still fight to the end. I am not a good communicator. I am a terrible communicator. Now, let's do this again. Let's breathe, and let's talk about how you feel. I am such this great communicator.
I think that Rab does a very good job at communicating. I think that initially he gets defensive and offended, and for a very long time when he first came here, he carried a big spirit of offense. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that, but he carried that heavy on his shoulders, and so everything I would say to him, it could come straight from my heart out of love, and no ill will, no intentions other than to share my feelings and my thoughts. And he would get defensive because he thought I was
complaining
or attacking you.
Attacking, yeah.
And
it was attacking more than complaining.
Yes.
And I still feel that way sometimes.
But we have came to a place where now that we're both learning. We're both learning still to this day. I don't know if learning each other, if you ever fully get to know each other, I don't really know. Even though I'm 52, maybe I should know that. I don't really know that because I feel like I'm still learning new things about him. And I feel like he pulls, like I can think, I'm going to say this and he's going to get mad because that is now exactly what I expect. and he can pull it out of left field, and I'll sit in there and cry because I'm like, he didn't get mad at me. Oh my gosh, he didn't get mad. And he communicates because he can communicate. When he realizes himself, I cannot say to you, I'm not trying to argue, I'm not attacking you. I can say that before I say anything else, and he's still going to feel the way he feels. But I have to remember that I'm only responsible for what I say to you and how my intentions when I say it, not how you take it. Because you take it the way you take it because of your past traumas. Just the way I say things, the way I say things because of my past traumas, and some of them because I feel deeply about it. And yeah, so it's a continued work in progress. We have grown leaps and bounds, I believe. We're nowhere near what we were.
No. And that's where we're on one of those 5-hour, 6-hour rides to Maryland, and you're looking at me like, why aren't you talking to me? And I don't know how to have a conversation, just work up conversation out of the air. And sometimes it's a sad damn shame that I gotta reach the Chat GPT to give me some ideas to have some conversations in the car with you because I'm so bad at conversation and communication.
But I think I'm also learning that it's okay for some quiet time.
Yeah.
It's okay sometimes to have quiet time. We don't gotta be talking 24/7. And you always, one thing Rab does, and I'm like, I'm so tired of doing it. I'm always the one that starts the conversation. Well, if you want to talk. I'm like, bro, can you not think of something? Like, I don't want to be the one. We have a lot going on in our lives. Not just with our families, but with our families, financially, job-wise, education-wise, podcast-wise. Like, we have all kinds of stuff going on in our lives. Mm-hmm. And, he always just wants me to start a conversation, and I'm a talker.
Yeah, you sure are talking.
Yeah.
If the listeners are listening, they can hear who's doing the talking here.
I can pull dirt out of the barrel just by talking to it, probably.
What do you say, pull what out of the barrel?
Pull dirt out of the barrel.
Dirt out of the barrel. There's one of them hollers. What I thought you were like versus who you actually are. What I thought you were like versus what you actually are. I thought at first when we met, when we first started talking, I thought you were crazy. Mm-hmm. I thought you were out of your mind. I thought that you definitely, and you are. You're to be the first to admit that you are an overthinker. Mm-hmm. But I just could not put my hand on why you would want anything to do with me.
So you thought I was crazy because I wanted something to do with you?
Yeah.
Okay. And so that's what you thought, and who am I actually?
You are my biggest fan. You support the hell out of everything I do, say, as much as I change my mind, and those of you who know me very well, you know how much I'm very impulsive and change my mind. You're always there no matter what for some strange reason. You don't go away. You stand by my side. Your team Rap 100%. And I've never had that. Like, I had people say that they are, and I'm not just talking about just people. I'm talking about relationships that I've been in the past. I'm talking about my family. The people closest to me. But I've had people say they are, and not truly be. There's been plenty of time in the short amount of time that we've been together where I was walking out. I was leaving. I was out of here. And that was just not going to be acceptable by you. And that's what I needed. I needed someone who was going to stick through it, no matter what. Not just be like, okay, you leaving, then get the hell up out of here. Then go.
But we have had those too.
We had, but
That might be for a different time, but
not
we had.
really, because
Yeah, remember when I said, "Okay, Rab, just go." Remember that?
yeah, but
Mhm.
I'm here. You
Mhm.
know what I'm saying? Like I'm just saying, in the past, I wouldn't be here. You know, so
And I have been guilty of thinking, "My God, would he just leave already?" You know that. You know that. Mhm. Mhm.
hold on. You felt that way?
I told you that.
So what'd you tell me?
I said to you, what was it I said?
I don't know. Say
I
it.
didn't want you to come back.
You didn't want me to come back.
Remember?
No, I don't remember nothing.
Dude, you need to get your amnesia checked or dementia one.
You didn't want me to come back?
Yes.
Why I ended up coming back?
Cause God checked me in my spirit just like that.
How did he check you?
Told me I needed to stop and get over myself.
I know that's right.
But there was some apologizing that needed to take place for that to happen too, because I have a very bad habit of allowing and tolerating things. And finally at 52, there's certain things I have a zero tolerance policy for, and talking to me any type of way is one of them. So he might have been able to carry that before, and somebody tolerate that, but this chick is not. It's a zero tolerance. I'm sorry, you ain't gonna get to talk to me and think just any old type of way and think it's cool, because it ain't happening.
You ain't doing shit.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, say, but yeah, and that's it in a nutshell. That's who we are. That's what we're bringing, right? That's Bari-N-Love. For
Yeah.
real. Why are you doing this podcast? Why do you want to do this podcast?
Babe, I just want to do everything with you. So.
But
I
why
want.
though?
Why?
Is there a reason for it?
You know, if there's anybody out there one person that can benefit from or relate to what we're going through, and anything that we've already been through or could help someone with.
Mm-hmm. So it's for, you know, a whole bunch of people, not just people in the bariatric community or people who are trying to lose weight, people who in real life, in real time, going through troubles, trials, and tribulations. Now, we can't get it twisted, because neither one of us are counselors. We're not counselors. We're just using this platform to learn each other.
Yeah.
And maybe it will bring some insight to other people who can use what we conversate in their own lives, or use it as a blueprint. Maybe not, or just sheer entertainment.
or you know, we're getting really close to death stage, so ideally these will be recordings and added to our TikToks and YouTube. And one day our grandkids can look back on it and they will know our story and know who we are. Something that, you know, my kids don't have of their grandparents.
Right, and it's like the time has changed from photo albums and old school videos to, you know, social media. So it's like we can use these platforms that'll last, you know, as long as, you know, social media is around. I can't imagine it going anywhere. To reflect on and look back at and see where their roots came from, and how we interacted and communicated when the tough gets going gets tough, you know. But with that said, you know, I don't know how often we're going to be doing this podcast. I believe we're going to do twice a month on Thursdays. So this is actually our first episode. And I don't know how you felt it went. I feel like it went really well.
Yeah, I think it went okay.
I enjoyed connecting with you and getting this, you know, juice up in me. You know? And I don't know. We're not here, you know, because we have it all figured out. at all. And again, we're here because we're learning, we're growing, and choosing each other every day.
Every single day.
And if you're on the same journey, you're not alone.